Friends, welcome to an impromptu try new makeup with me video that I am filming on my iPhone, but rest assured I will follow up with individual videos using my Sony camera in dialing into the products individually so you can get a better picture, better close-ups. But I just wanted to get the cogs started, if you will, if any of these products were on your wish list, and maybe they'll stay on the wish list, maybe you'll kick them off, whatever it will be. I would love to know down below. And of course, we have to start with the Natasha Denona foundation sample I was able to grab finally from Sephora. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, it is her new Hy-Glam foundation, hydrating and blurring luminous longwear serum foundation. A ton of oxymorons in there. Hydrating and blurring, luminous longwear serum foundation. This is what intrigued me, because to have a radiant finish, still control oil as it's described here, a medium buildable hybrid blurring and self-setting, while being a radiant serum foundation that hydrates and balances oil for up to 18 hours of creaseless wear. Figure that one out. So I was able to decide on NP10, which unfortunately at the moment is sold out on Sephora, but thank goodness the location I visited had enough to spare for a sample. This is described to be as a medium tan neutral. If you see my arm and wondering why I have swatches on already, well, I started filming this video without turning on my mic. So I had to start over. I had the foundation on and everything, wiped it off. We're gonna start from scratch. And my skin now is dry because I use Bioderma to remove everything. So it'll be interesting to see how hydrating this foundation will be, given that it's starting on a rather dry canvas. But I'm happy that this happened because NP10 does start off yellow, but it does oxidize to be a little more golden peachy. I was told by a fellow skin twin that I would have a hard time matching in this foundation, but if you are my skin twin, I think NP10 will be your best bet, because I was swatching the other ones in store and I know not accurate because I'm using inside of my arm. I'm not allowing enough time for the shades to oxidize, so what appeared to be too light or too off in undertone could actually work out. I didn't allot enough time to see that happen. But for now, I think NP10 is a good bet. With that said, I'll do a quick swatch here on my face so you can see how yellow golden it appears on first application. But as I begin to blend this out, and I'm using my Mizuho CMP 510, I believe the numbers are, I'm gonna place a little more here back of hand and start going in with just that swatch. You can see a little goes a long way, and it might appear awfully yellow as I begin to blend it out. And I'm placing a little here, center of the face, on the nose and on the forehead. I'll purposely leave this side bare. You can see that my natural undertone is more of a neutral peach, but with the NP10, it's going to move it a little more to the golden side of things, a little yellow golden if I'm frank. But it's okay because I think it's going to actually settle into my natural undertone and appear balanced out in the end. So let's continue with the other side, and happy to report there is no perfume in this foundation. There's just a product smell, which I don't mind. It's not a potent one where it will be bothersome as I wear it throughout the day. Despite it being creamy, it feels lightweight and it immediately evens out my skin tone. It blurs out my imperfections. You see I have these gnarly blemishes on this side of my face, and on this side of my face it completely took them out. I'm continuing to blend so that the foundation doesn't appear heavy on the skin, and it does feel or perform like a serum where it just sinks in and it feels creamy on the touch, luminous for sure. You can see how that luminous finish reveals itself here, especially on my cheekbones. And I'll wait until it actually dries down completely to get a better feel of the set, right? Because it did describe itself to be self-setting, which I think is interesting given this texture. But that doesn't look too bad, right? With the rest of my body, you could argue it might look a little golden. And my apologies about the background automobile noise. I did leave one window open just to get some air in here. I closed the one in front of me, but you know, this is This is New York. Not too bad. Quickly wanted to show you two new concealers that I incorrectly named. Suqqu Europe was kind to send me these in PR. It is the new Suqqu Creamy Cover Concealer. They sent me two shades. I know they look quite light. C03 and W03. W03 is the warmer out of the two, and C is the cool. I will place C, that's the one I have here, but see how it dried down? It's more of like a peachy type of a gig. I'll apply C03 just on the inner parts of my eye. And the main difference you see immediately, if you don't remember, again, I'll make sure to film this again with the older concealer formula, but the doe foot applicator is larger in the new. And despite how light C03 is, it provides just enough brightening without it looking too off. But you have to make sure you don't apply a ton. That is imperative for it to not look like, you know, 2015 YouTube Beauty, where they just placed a crazy light highlight for brightening, but it could look ashy depending on the skin tone and depending on the undertone of the concealer. But you see, if I'm light-handed with the shade, it looks quite nice. And with W03, I can use that shade to address more stubborn blemishes on the face. Like for here, I could go in with the W03 and just kind of pop it on directly here. And I think it goes well with the Natasha's NP10 actually, because they have a similar undertone. I like to place some on my nose here because it is, despite how I love autumn, it does welcome the second portion of allergy season for the year. And you know, my poor little nose with all the nose blowing and everything, the skin could get quite red and raw. So I have to place a little extra concealer there. And although the concealer is creamy from the Suqqu, it is like a gel cream formula. It's fascinating. It's creamy, or it might leave the impression that it's like heavy, but it's not. And you can see how the colors are oxidizing here. W03 is a great all over shade for me if I just wanted to stick to the concealer and nothing else. But C03, I think pretty nice for the under eyes. You can let me know down below. I'm gonna leave it as is because I want you to see how the concealer is setting. And a quick warning, I do have an appointment at 11. I'll come back here once I'm done, but the lighting might be a little different. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. But the main event feature, I waited, I didn't buy this right away because I wanted to see it and feel it in person. And there are two, it's the soft and the dramatic. I was like, you're not getting both, Missy. I chose dramatic because I felt I would use this palette the most for my skin tone and the looks that I wanted to achieve. And I was happy to discover, despite how it might look large online, look at that palette. It's just beautiful. Like, I know I have these shades, but to have it in the Natasha Denona formula, and of course, the dramatic offering includes more of the shimmer metallics. They might not be shimmer metallics. I think there might be some sparkled foils in there, but I'm happy to report it fits in my beloved Lisa Eldridge makeup bag right here. It just comes right to the edge, but it zips up. So that was a huge deciding factor for me. I'm like, it's large, but if I could fit it in this guy, we're good to go. And some quick palette details. This palette is made in Italy. And we have a 24 month suggested shelf life. Hooray! The palette retails for $82. Quite expensive, but it does include, let me see here, 18 shades in all. Byredo's new palette was $115. So this is a little more or less. We have a mixture of textures here. We have metallic, matte, creamy matte. I think according to this layout here, well, actually I was reading the wrong thing. Mattes and cream mattes still apply to the dramatic palette, but we have a mixture of sparkling foiled metallic, sparkled foiled, let's see here. So a mixture between the sparkling foiled and the standard metallic. Of course, like I had said with the mattes, powder matte, cream matte. And I'll use this arm to demonstrate. And I like how it's easy to clean. That's fantastic. And the base is almost like a see-through, and you have the magnetic pinholes here. If you want to do some swaps, I think are these pan sizes the same as what is found in Metropolis? That would be amazing. And as you can see, each column is labeled by its undertone. So if we start on this side, you have warm. I think this stands for yellow, rose, peach, neutral, and cool. And she went with like this amethyst looking metallic. Isn't that interesting? But this is what got me right here. This section, well, this column too, but this section right here, sign me up. So let's start with the warm row. I'm swatching with my left hand, but I think I'm getting better coordinated. So we have that first shade here. Ooh, the metallic. Is it a metallic? I'll double check the website again. And I believe these two are traditional powder metallics, which kind of look the same. I don't know how distinguishable they would be on the eyes. Oh, I see how these are listed. It's a sparkled foiled. They did it this way, not column wise. It's fine, we'll figure it out. The yellows, here we go. Kind of mustardy, don't you think? This is like a honey type of a matte shade. This might be either the metallic or I think that might be a sparkling foil. And this is another matte based on how it looks in pan. Again, I'll be happy to film with this palette again, just with my notes better laid out. But this is all first impressions. So we're off to the rose column. Oh, that's almost like a burgundy. Yes. I love that depth. She probably could have gone a little deeper with that rose, not gonna lie, but I understand I could go in a different shade to add depth there. Moving on to the peaches. This, just from how it appears, has to be a sparkling foiled. And this feels like a cream matte. Yeah, based on how sheeny that looks to be like a creamy matte hybrid. So we have the powder matte, what looks to be a sparkling foil. Ooh, yes! You know what I'm gonna say? Terracotta. That is a beautifully rich terracotta. We're almost done, family. We have the neutrals now. We got what feels to be a powder. This, I think, might be a traditional metallic, and this a traditional powder matte as well. Straightforward, right? I'm sure you can apply these to any of the mattes here to add more depth. And lastly, we have the cool side. Ooh, is this? I think, yes, this is a powder. I got so excited. This is a powder matte, but interesting how Natasha went like amethyst for the designated cool shade for the that column. This is like the black brown for sure. Let me double check. I think that might be a traditional powder. The only hybrid was P3 based on how it felt. It had like that slurry feel to it. And I have the diagram here on the box. Okay, so SF, we have the first one here is a sparkling foiled, Y2 regular metallic, Rose 3 regular metallic, P2 definitely gave off sparkling foiled vibes, which it is, N2 regular metallic, and C2 sparkled foiled. Not as impressive as P2, but because of the different color pearl in there, I could see where she was going in formulating this to be a sparkling foil metallic. So here are all the shades for Natasha's Sculpt, hold on, this is the name, Sculpt Texture and Tone Palette in the Dramatic offering. Not sure if I'll run after the Soft palette because I did swatch a few of those shadows, and although lovely, for $82, I wanted to have shadows that I know will provide a little more impact, but I also know can dial it down in terms of the color richness because I'm comfortable in doing that. But if you're lighter than me, I think the soft one will be a way to go. But if you're around my skin tone, and yes, it's tough because I could get away with either the soft or the dramatic. I would go dramatic, just my personal opinion. And I had to quickly show who finally grabbed the new Burberry Outdoor Blush Long Wear Buildable Color Weather Protection. I love how Burberry tries to like integrate their trench coat sensibility into their makeup. It's almost like the makeup formula is a trench coat for your face. Is that the point they're trying to drive? I get it, but I don't think that's how it works. 66 Earth Rose and 93 Russet Leaves. Earthy Rose, I said Earth Rose, making up names again. 24 months suggested shelf life, also made in Italy. On the first swatch, well, first of all, love how the palette has the iconic Burberry plaid embossing there. You got this little brush, and the compact is as they all have been a design ever since the relaunch of the Burberry makeup line. But you're gonna see this shade and say, I don't know. It actually shows up quite nicely. The swatch looks a little weak in terms of the color, but it's kind of like that YSL blush. Is it Nude Haze? It's like Nude Haze vibes, okay? And then Russet Leaves. I know you're dying to see Russet Leaves. Before I head over to my appointment, I'll quickly apply the blushes and then I'll get back on here so we could do an eyeshadow look with Natasha's palette. But ooh, Russet Leaves. First of all, the texture, smooth, it's matte, but my goodness, look at Russet Leaves. I know, and I only brought one brush with me, so this is a great opportunity to see Sonia's TF4 in action. Earthy Rose, what do we got? This is the default, barely there, but just enough shade for someone with my skin tone, and you can build up the color if you want, so it could show like there's something going on. But yeah, this is the default shade. There's a little bit of a fragrance, but it's not like Dior or Givenchy. So that's Earthy Rose. You might not justify this color for, I think, how much were these? $49, $50. So I understand how you might not be able to justify $50 for a shade like this. I am an influencer, I review makeup on YouTube. I could take the hit, especially if it's gonna help you make a decision, right? So I completely understand. But if you're my complexion and you actually like shades like these and you were unsure how Earthy Rose was gonna turn up, then this is how it looks. Now for Russet Leaves, however, Russet Leaves, I will start higher here in the hollows. And this takes on a more wine-leaning hue versus Chili Crush from YSL, NARS is Sinful, which is a blush stick, but it's more of like a brick red, well, like a more vibrant brick red. Russet Leaves is more like, it's almost giving like a red wine. And I started here higher on the cheekbones on purpose, but it is a beautifully formulated matte blush. Look how it moves. It doesn't look dry on the skin. And on the Natasha Denona foundation, again, that naturally occurring luminous finish without it being too slippy or like bouncy skin. And why not? Let's go in with a little bit of Russet Leaves here on the hollows. If I had to choose, I would have probably just purchased Russet Leaves, because for $50, I understand you're going to choose the color that's going to provide impact, that blushed effect, which I think Russet Leaves does. And you probably have already noticed the theme reflected in the name. The product is called an outdoor blush, and all the product names are like peach tree, you know, the outside nature things. And I think Russet Leaves speaks to like autumn for sure. So I added that on top of Earthy Rose. And there you go. You can even toss some here, the leftover on my brush, across the nose. I'm taking it around my brow just so I can move the product evenly. And if you run into this issue where you kind of have to buff down excess product, you can take the foundation brush without any product, just whatever is left over, and tap on the edges of your blush to kind of bring down the color or soften the border between blush and foundation. I love this color and I love the texture of the Burberry blush. I would say overall the shade offering like is quite light. You have a beautiful contour shade for lighter skin tones for sure. It's like a neutral cool undertone. That's how it appeared online, so it'll be interesting to find out any of you picked up. I think it's like a sand name. I forgot the name, my apologies. The sales rep at Nordstrom, she's deeper than me, and she had the pink on and it looked pink. It didn't look ashy on her. So that's the thing. Sometimes the swatch can be a little misleading because you see how it swatches on here, but it actually showed up well on the cheeks. So that's for you to decide. But I gotta hop off. I have an appointment. I'll be back on with a few more new items and a Natasha Denona demo using a few of her shadows. So that sounds like a plan. Hang tight and I'll be right back. And we're back post-client in the safe zone still. The sun hasn't come in too strong yet. And how are we liking how the foundation has been looking or has settled into? And again, we applied the new Burberry blushes in Earthy Rose and Russet Leaves. And the two remaining products I have to show are the new Vanngo bronzers. So I'll swatch those, but this is what we have on the cheeks. And again, as I mentioned, I managed to pick up Hung's bronzer because I failed to mention in my first impressions video where the Vanngo beauty team, so kind to send me PR, had noted in the pamphlet that the bronzers weren't ready at the time when they were sending out the packages. And I had said in that video, I was happy to pick up a bronzer, and the Sephora I visited had Vanngo Beauty, and I picked up Straightforward. This is the soft blurring bronzer in the same soft matte red orange packaging. We have 0.55 ounces or 15.5 grams of product, 24-month shelf life suggested, and made in Italy. Let me quickly pull up that's a big pan. Ooh, and it is soft and silky. This might be a little on the light side because I think the next shade that they had available, they didn't have a ton left at that location. Would have been a little too deep, although I can get away with deeper shades as demonstrated by the Fada Midi bronzer, so that shouldn't be a huge deal. But this might be like more of like a caramel honey tone. It retails also for $38. Oh, I think I might have picked up the wrong shade. I picked up the wrong shade. I thought Straightforward, the one I swatched, this happens where the compact is in the wrong slot, and what I think I swatched is what I think is on the display, and it's not. So I really should have picked up Hardworking, which is the medium shade, but Straightforward is for light shades. Oh well, I'll still use it. It's okay. It'll be interesting to see, especially because I am entering the winter time. So this is going to be what the complexion looks like. I will still use my Sonia brush. Is there anything there? I think it's hard to see because I have blush on already. So what we're gonna have to do, yes, I'm taking one for the team here. I'll use my Bioderma again and wipe off one side of my face because I also visited Nordstrom, as you probably could tell. I bought the Burberry blushes from Nordstrom, and Susie, the Gucci beauty rep, so kind to give me 3 samples, you heard that correctly, of the new Gucci tint. I picked up 47 medium deep, which is Glam Girl Chelsea shade. I don't know why I thought that would have been a good idea, but I went back to the counter and Susie was nice enough to give me 36, 41, and 43. So this is 36, and different from the Natasha Denona. The Natasha Denona is a dedicated foundation. This is a moisturizing tint. Okay, so that's 36. Next we have 41, which will appear lighter, but that's going to be more of a neutral undertone. And last, 43, which I think is my actual dead-on Gucci moisturizing tint shade, the glow tint. So I thought it'd be interesting to, I guess, since we can now, have the glow tint on this side, and the Natasha Denona stays on this side. And I do like to apply tints or moisturizing tints, whatever, with my fingers, because that's how I would apply a moisturizer. I love the Gucci tint. I love how there's no perfume, there's no heavy product scent. It's creamy, but it's lightweight and does an incredible job in evening my skin tone and softening the look of my blemishes. And I do insist on using fingers, as I feel it won't sit oddly on my skin, because that is a trade-off. If you insist on using a brush to apply the moisturizer, I think you risk the product not being buffed and worked into the skin well enough, and too much product can be left behind sitting on the skin and not actually being worked into the skin, if that makes any sense. The Gucci is actually a better match for me, 43, than the Natasha Denona foundation. The Natasha Denona foundation gives me a little brightening. I don't know if you can tell. I'm gonna back up here. This is the Gucci, this is the Natasha Denona with blush, but I wanted to start with a fresh face so we can see the true color of this Vanngo bronzer. I bought the wrong shade, but it actually is okay because I could get away with a variety number of undertones and depth for bronzers. But if you happen to be my complexion and you tend to lean more towards the lighter bronzer part of the spectrum, then maybe straightforward is gonna be your color, right? That really all depends. So this is gonna give you just barely there bronzing, right? And I'm sure if I had a larger brush, I could pack on more color, but I wanted to show you the bronzer solo. So this is what we're getting. It's not bad actually. It's just enough warmth to provide the complexion, to bring it back if it's too light, or maybe something's odd with the undertone with a complexion product you're using. And I could actually follow up with Earthy Rose to see how it goes with Hung's bronzer. So I'm hitting the center of the face to introduce that color, and is super lightweight, right? It's like barely there, just enough. I don't want to appear like I'm wearing too much makeup, but just enough makeup. And I could go in lightly with Russet leaves. And that's not bad. I have 3 different powders on. It doesn't look dry, and it doesn't appear too muddy either. Let me know what you think down below. That lighter bronze shade, I think, works in favor if you want to layer product. If you like to layer your cheek products and you insist on applying bronzer, having the lighter bronzer shade, I think will prevent layering any color thereafter to look muddy, in my opinion. But you could let me know down below. I do want to show the lipstick. Now, if you were to just get one shade of the Vanngo lipstick, it's like a satin to matte. It's called Creamy Matte Lipstick. It's quite interesting. It applies creamy, but settles into more of a matte finish. Wildest Dreams, out of the nude shades that I swatched in store, Wildest Dreams was by far the most interesting shade because it has, you'll see, this kind of like mustard cool undertone to it. It's so 90s, very much grunge in the color. It's described to be a deep nude, and I said Wildest Dreams. It's just Wildest Dream. Let me know what you think. On me, is giving a little like, I don't know. Maybe it is just like a warm nude, because the color I swatched, I don't know, this happens to me again. Ooh, I think it's so pretty. I do wish the lipstick bullet wasn't so curved. I understand how the point of it is to get like that even line. I do prefer a flatter lipstick bullet slant. I feel like I have more freedom in applying the lipstick as I want, but it's like I said, if you just want to get one shade, you're my skin twin, and we're on the same page in terms of the shades that we like, the undertones we like, you have to get Wildest Dream. And the color delivery isn't that just. It's not a satin, it is a creamy matte. So it applies like a satin, but it's gonna settle into a more long wear lipstick formula that will not feel dry. But I'm telling you, we like what's happening. Now let's get into this eyeshadow palette. Like I had mentioned before, this is Impromptu. We're not gonna use all the shades. I'm applying my Suqqu eye primer to prep the lids. I also wanna drop on a little bit of my highlighter. Also, I didn't remove the concealer from this side. That was the Suqqu. It stays on pretty well. It does, but if you prefer, I forgot to put on concealer on this side. Oops. If you prefer to not set, or actually if you prefer to set, it won't look off. I'm gonna put a little bit of C03 and then tap that out. Where's my brush? I like the Gucci a lot. And it's one of those things where it's hard for me to decide between the Natasha Denona and the Tom Ford, because the Tom Ford in 13 Sepia is a better match than the Natasha Denona NP10. Sepia is like perfect for me, and I also prefer the shade Match from the Gucci. It just makes the Natasha Denona side look a little odd, but I said it settled into like a more balanced skin tone. But until I match it up with something that's actually better, you can see NP10 is not ideal for me, but it's okay. I have time to decide. I have enough sample left to compare it with the Tom Ford Architecture Radiance. But I gotta hand it to the Architecture Radiance too. I wore it yesterday? No, I wore it on Thursday, because that's when I filmed my August favorites. I know, late into mid-September, and I loved how my skin looked. I looked flawless. That Tom Ford foundation, 100% flawless skin in a bottle. But the price though, it's like 95 bucks, and then Natasha Denona is like what, in the 50s or the 60s? I can't remember, but it's fine. Let's get our brushes ready. I have a mixture here. We got some Sonia G, we got some Bobodo and Chikuhodo, Bobo and Bishodo, Bobo and Koyudo from Master Yoshiki. Because I have this lipstick on, we definitely have to go with the yellow side and the peach side. I'm doing yellow and peach today, family. Please forgive me. I want to use my TA and just like go wild with this light mustard. So this is going to be like a honey shade through my crease. Can you see that? If I pack it on here, that's the effect it will leave behind. It's, yeah, that's like, almost looks like light orange. It's crazy. Outer corner, we'll follow up with Y3 for the shading. And these mattes feel incredible. They're Natasha Denona mattes. And it's interesting experiencing the evolution of Natasha's matte formula throughout the years. She has changed her mattes a number of times in just trying to get that right ratio of powder and creaminess, color richness, blendability, right? She's always in the lab cooking up something. I should have went in with the darker shade first to get better adherence on the outer lid. That's something also sometimes I run into with Natasha Denona mattes, where if you apply too much powder, especially on the outer corner, it might appear a little uneven. But let's follow up with the Sparkly Arcly shade. And I think Y2, I can't recall if Y2 was supposed to be a metallic or a sparkling foil, but I used the brush first. But I think I'm gonna get a little more from my finger, and then I'll follow up with the brush to clean up that application, and actually will apply some on the inner corner. So that's nice. That's chill. Now for the P's. Okay, definitely going in P3 first. And this is the creamy matte. It will be lighter in lay down just by default, because Natasha purposely formulates their creamy mattes to be easy to blend, but so you actually have control. Whoa, the iPhone oversaturates reds or anything that has a little bit of red in there, because in real life this appears like a softer terracotta shade. I just want to let you know, because if you see this and you're like, ooh, I don't know. No, Alicia, I completely understand. I'm following up with P1 to blend the edges of that creamy matte, and it's already getting pretty hazy quite quickly. And I have to do my eyebrows. Oh my gosh. I finally finished my Victoria Beckham Beauty micro baby blade, something brow pencil. I didn't buy a new one because I did have a Benefit Goof Proof on standby. So I'm making myself, yes, I'm using those words intentionally, making myself use that first before I buy another Victoria Beckham brow pencil. It's just the right thing to do. Now with P2 on the lid, definitely will have to use my finger. P2 is one of the more drier metallics or sparkling foils, where using a brush I don't think will pick up as much as you would like to get on the lid. But once you get it on the lid, shiny, shiny. And of course, if you want a lighter metallic, then you'll have to choose Y2 if you want distinction between the shades that's on the lid and versus how you want it to appear on the inner corner. No, brush down. I do, however, want a little more depth across the lash line. So I am tapping into N1 and just going across softly here, as I want to build a little more depth along the lash line. Maybe some N3 to get it up in that intensity. Not too bad. I'm just working on this wing flick here. All right, we like. Again, in person, this does not look as red. I'm telling you, it looks more like a softer terracotta. But my gosh, when I edit this, it's gonna be crazy. Let's quickly draw on the brows, because I think it will help everything else look complete. And this is in 3. I actually bought this when I was in Orlando and decided maybe I need like a lighter pencil where it doesn't appear as bold. And I think 3 might actually be my shade. I went after 3.5 consistently for a number of years, but I think 3 is actually a lot better. It's softer. Very nice. We like what's happening. I hope so. Let's slap on some mascara. I don't have my falsies with me, but I do have my Refer lash curler as well as my Protoscope. So let's get our curl on. I can't get over this lipstick. My gosh. Oh, I got a little fallout from when I applied that metallic shade. It's fine. Okay, look is complete. What do we think? Impromptu, again, as I mentioned, I'll come back on here with my Sony camera to film the swatches again, use all shadows from the texture and tone. Yes. If you want to see the bronzer in action again, I'll be happy to show it with my other brushes, this one here. But I actually like the softer color. I do. This is kind of probably what the Farah Homidi bronzer in like the medium category would do. It looked a lot lighter than Straightforward from Hung, but I do enjoy the fact that I could be more liberal with it in the application. I don't have to be as careful, especially if I want more of like that warmth from within that doesn't look distinctly super bronzed out, especially now for autumn winter. The Burberry blushes are fantastic. I mean, this texture, despite it being matte, is incredibly soft. And if you were to get one shade, I personally wouldn't buy Earthy Rose unless that is your color. If you traditionally buy those types of like barely there, but just right, deep nude colors, if you're medium like me, go for it. But if you want blush, if you want more control over how much shows and how much you can dial it down, I would go where Russet leaves, in my opinion. The Natasha Denona foundation, like all foundation, all types of tints, I would grab a sample first. I will grab a sample first, see how it applies, how it oxidizes, how it feels with other makeup on, try it for a few days. But just from this demonstration, I love the Gucci Glow Tint. I think it's a fantastic tint product. One of the best I've seen in a while. And again, I appreciate the fact that Gucci didn't put any perfume in there. Despite it being a tint, it just feels creamy and rich. It has so much body to it that it's simply a pleasure to apply and to use. And if you're my skin twin, out of all the samples that Susie was so generous in providing me, I would definitely go with 43. 43, I think, is our shade. It's not too light, not too deep. Great undertone for me, especially now entering the autumn winter season. It doesn't make me look ashy or makes me look too tan, right? NP10 is okay. I think I have to see this again in front of my window with my camera. I also have to see it under different light sources, but I think this will have to be my color. It has to be NP10. The shades above and below NP10 I think will look off. And if you're wondering about like the nude leaning shades from Vanngo, you have to get Wildest Dream. I'm not saying you need it. This is just if you had your eye on his lipsticks, you already were in the process of buying it, you just needed to choose and you're not able to go into Sephora, you can't see the shade on yourself, you can't swatch the shade, whatever the challenges are, you're my skin tone, you like the shades that I like historically watching my videos, you gotta get this one. Maybe wait until the Sephora sale, be on the lookout, because I think by default this will probably be like one of the more popular shades, but who knows. And that is it. Let me know if this video helped whatsoever. Again, it's impromptu, not my usual gig with my setup, microphone and camera, but I thought it'll be fun just to show what I had picked up, more samples that I grabbed. And if you were thinking about any of these products, hopefully this video helped in providing a little more clarity in regards to the swatches and the colors. And again, thank you for bearing with all the background orchestra noise that is NYC automobile chaos. And if you made it this far, make sure you like this video by clicking the thumbs up. It helps me immensely in letting the algorithm know that I'm worth watching and will now recommend my videos to other beauty enthusiasts like yourself to watch. And consider subscribing. More videos on the way. As I had mentioned, we'll get into the nitty-gritty when I'm back in my office. I would love to get those videos out, and when I do upload them, especially when you click that notification bell, you know when they're live immediately. And of course, if you are a returning subscriber, I appreciate your time in watching this video. But if it's your first time here, welcome, please stay, peruse some more. I'll see you in this video here, definitely down in the comments for this one, and on here again next time.